Today we uncover the shocking truth about UK ice cream. There was a time when you could taste the dairy in ice cream, when British ice cream used to be simple: cream, milk, sugar, vanilla. 4 ingredients your grandmother would recognize. We get, 2 weeks of proper sun a year in this country. Can we at least enjoy some real ice cream during it, instead of iced oil, please? But as we're about to see, that might be asking just a bit too much from the mega corporations. Ice cream is supposed to be one of the simple pleasures of a hot day. Think back to ice cream from your childhood, that dense, creamy texture with that unmistakable vanilla warmth. Now, half the tubs in supermarkets taste like someone added sweetener to candle wax. And here's why. In 2015, something changed. The UK government quietly removed the minimum fat requirement for ice cream. So you can now legally sell ice cream with no milk, no cream, and no dairy fat whatsoever. And according to a Which investigation, 50% of UK vanilla ice creams are now missing milk, cream, or vanilla. 1 in 5 are missing all 3. Meanwhile, in America, ice cream must contain a minimum of 10% milk fat. Dairy Queen can't even legally call their soft serve ice cream because it only has 5% milk fat. In the UK, that would be premium. Yes, we fell so far behind in food quality, even the Americans have overtaken us in some departments. There's something particularly cruel about ruining ice cream. It's supposed to make things better, but British ice cream manufacturers saw the 2015 regulation change as an invitation to replace expensive cream with cheap palm oil, pump products full of air, and bet you wouldn't notice. Some brands even add fake vanilla specks just for decoration. Some of this stuff doesn't even melt. People have left it out for 4 hours and it kept its shape. That's not ice cream, that's polymer science. The first ingredient in many tubs: water. Not cream, not milk. Water, and if you look closely at the packaging, a lot of them don't even say ice cream. They say soft scoop or frozen dessert because they know what they're selling isn't ice cream. So we've gone through the major brands currently sold in UK supermarkets and will expose the 9 ice cream products you need to avoid. Then I'll tell you the handful which are actually still worth buying. But first, if this kind of investigation matters to you, hit that hype button right now. Every hype helps push this video to more people, which means more families learn what they're actually feeding their kids, which means more pressure on these corporations to stop cutting corners and start making real ice cream again. Your hype isn't just a click, it's a signal that people care about what's in their food and that we're not going to keep accepting degraded products just because the packaging looks familiar. So hype this video, share it with someone who still thinks ice cream is ice cream, and let's make some noise. Right, let's get into it. Number 9. Tesco Soft Scoop Vanilla Ice Cream, the 2-litre tub. This is where it starts to get interesting. Pick up this tub and read the ingredients. You'll find it starts with partially reconstituted skimmed milk concentrate, not fresh milk, reconstituted powder, then comes glucose syrup, then sugar, and then here's where it gets wild. 4 different oils: coconut oil, palm fat, palm oil, palm kernel oil. That's not a typo. They've managed to pack 4 variations of cheap vegetable oil into one tub. This is what we're calling the triple palm threat, except it's actually quadruple. And here's the kicker. It's called vanilla ice cream, but there's no cream and no real vanilla, just flavoring. Customer reviews tell the story better than I can. One person wrote, "Doesn't taste great. When it melts, goes straight to really liquidy instead of like cream." That's because it's not cream. It's oil and water held together with emulsifiers and hope. And if you look at the packaging closely, you'll notice it doesn't prominently say ice cream, it says soft scoop. That's deliberate. Soft scoop is code for we've pumped this full of air and chemicals so it feels light and easy to serve, and you won't notice half of what you're paying for is literally nothing. Multiple palm oils means environmental destruction in your freezer, by the way. Palm oil production is linked to deforestation, habitat loss, and massive carbon emissions. So that bargain tub isn't just bad for your taste buds, it's bad for the planet. But Tesco knows most people don't read ingredient lists. They see a big 2-litre tub for a few pounds and think they're getting value. What they're actually getting is reconstituted powder, glucose syrup, and 4 different ways to avoid using cream. Number 8. Asda Soft Scoop Vanilla, Another 2-liter tub. This one follows the same playbook. Reconstituted skimmed milk concentrate, glucose syrup, water, and then the palm oil triple threat returns. Palm stearin, palm oil, palm kernel oil. Notice how water is listed before the oils. That tells you something about the ratios here. You're buying frozen water, with oil mixed in, stabilized with gums, sweetened with syrups, and sold as ice cream. Customers have noticed. One review said, strange, almost bubblegum flavor, not nice. Another said, definitely not soft scoop, gave it to the dogs in the end, 5 stars. 5 stars because apparently the dogs liked it. That's the level we're at. The palm oil in this leaves a waxy coating in your mouth. If you've ever accidentally tasted lip balm, that's the texture we're talking about. It doesn't melt like dairy. It doesn't taste like dairy. It just sits there greasy and wrong until your mouth warms it enough to break down the emulsion. And here's something you can test yourself. Weigh this tub. It's massive, 2 liters, but it's suspiciously light. That's because it's 50% air. Soft scoop doesn't mean creamy. It means we've whipped so much air into this that it weighs less than it should. The industry term is overrun. Up to 100% overrun means half the tub is literally air. You're paying for frozen oxygen. Asda positions this as a family favorite, great value for gatherings and parties. But what you're serving your family is reconstituted milk powder, palm oils from 3 different sources, and enough air to make it scoop easily. That's not hospitality, that's just sad. Number 7. Co-op Vanilla Flavor Ice Cream, 900 milliliters. This one deserves special attention because the Co-op built its entire brand identity on fairness, community values, and ethical trading. You'd expect better from them. You'd be wrong. The first ingredient in this tub is water, not milk, not cream. Water, then skimmed milk concentrate, glucose syrup, coconut oil, sugar. The witch investigation absolutely hammered this one. They found it was missing all 3 key ingredients you'd expect in vanilla ice cream: fresh milk, cream, and real vanilla. Even those little black specks you see in the tub, they're just decorative. They're not real vanilla bean. They're added to make you think you're getting the real thing. It's visual theater. One customer described the taste perfectly. Tastes like someone melted down a candle and called it dessert. That's what happens when you build ice cream from water and coconut oil instead of cream and milk. The flavor is synthetic, mousy, artificially sweet. There's no richness, no dairy depth, just sugar and chemicals doing their best impression of what ice cream used to be. The Guardian's 2025 taste test gave Co-op Vanilla a brutal review. They called it bright yellow, fake, and said the dominant flavor was synthetic. And here's what really stings. The Co-op trades on trust. People buy from them expecting decency, expecting that the cooperative model means they're getting a fair product. But this tub is marketing wrapped in ethics. It's community-flavored disappointment. You might as well call it that. For a brand that talks so much about values, you'd think respecting what ice cream actually is would be one of them. Number 6. Carte d'Or Madagascan Vanilla. This is the one that really shows the contempt these companies have for consumers. The name means golden card in French. The packaging is elegant, sophisticated. European, it's positioned as the affordable premium option, the treat that won't break the bank. It's also barely ice cream at all. If you look at the packaging carefully, you'll see it described as frozen dessert instead. Carte d'Or replaces most of that expensive dairy fat with vegetable oils and uses stabilizers and emulsifiers to make it behave like ice cream without actually being ice cream. The ingredients list is horrifying. Reconstituted skimmed milk, glucose syrup, glucose fructose syrup, coconut fat, emulsifiers, stabilizers. Where's the cream? There isn't any. This is vegetable oil whipped with air and stabilized with gums. The Guardian called it highly processed and not worthy of the ice cream label. And they're right. The texture is the tell. Real ice cream melts into a smooth liquid. Carte d'Or melts into a gloopy, separated mess because the vegetable oils and stabilizers don't blend properly. It leaves a greasy coating in your mouth because you're essentially eating frozen vegetables spread with sugar. But here's the most insulting part. Carte d'Or costs more than supermarket own-brand ice cream. Significantly more. You're paying extra for elegant packaging and a French name wrapped around a product that's lower quality than the budget alternatives. One customer wrote, Bought Carte Dior for years, thinking it was a step up from Walls. Finally read the label. Is it even ice cream? I felt like an idiot. You shouldn't feel like an idiot for trusting a brand, but that's what happens when premium branding hides poverty ingredients. Carte D'Or is the perfect example of what's wrong with this industry. It's not ice cream. It's frozen dessert made from the cheapest possible ingredients, marketed as premium and priced accordingly. That's not just bad quality, that's borderline fraud. Number 5. Mr. Whippy and Ice Cream Vans Soft Serve. I know what you're thinking, ice cream vans aren't a brand. But hear me out, because this is some of the worst ice cream most British people regularly consume, and we need to talk about it. That soft serve from the van at the beach, at the park, at summer fairs, it's not ice cream. It's called soft serve for a reason. And that reason is it can't legally be called ice cream. The mix that goes into those machines is typically vegetable oils, milk powder, not fresh milk, sugar, emulsifiers and stabilizers. No cream, sometimes not even real milk, just reconstituted milk powder. The machines whip this mixture with air while freezing it. The overrun can be as high as 100%, meaning half of what you're buying is air. That's why it's so soft, that's why it melts so quickly into that weird separated liquid, that's why it leaves that coating in your mouth. But the real horror is what some van operators do. There are documented cases of ice cream vans using mix that's been sitting unrefrigerated or not cleaning their machines properly. The regulations around mobile food vendors are far less strict than permanent establishments. A former ice cream van operator confessed online the mix we used cost about 20p's per 99 flake. We sold them for £2.50. The machine got cleaned once a week if we remembered. I wouldn't eat it myself. £20 to £2.50. That's a 1,150% markup on frozen vegetable oil. And here's the wildest part. Some of this stuff doesn't even melt properly. One person said they left Mr. Whippy in the sink to melt. 4 hours later, it was still there, not moved. When ice cream doesn't melt, that tells you something. Real ice cream is cream, milk, sugar, maybe eggs. It melts because those are natural ingredients that respond to heat. But when you've built your product from vegetable oils, stabilizers, and emulsifiers, it doesn't behave like food anymore. It behaves like a science experiment. The flake, the monkey's blood sauce, the hundreds and thousands, they're all there to mask the fact that what you're eating is barely food. It's sweetened vegetable oil foam with coloring and flavoring. And yet we keep buying it because it's summer, because it's tradition, because childhood memories are powerful things. But those memories are from a time when ice cream vans actually sold ice cream, not whatever chemical concoction passes for it now. For the same £2.50, you could buy a proper ice lolly or save up and buy real ice cream from a shop. But Mr. Whippy's soft serve persists because we're not thinking about what we're eating, we're thinking about what we remember eating. Number 4. Walls Soft Scoop Vanilla, the 1.8-litre tub. Oh, Walls. The brand is everywhere. Every corner shop, every cinema, every seaside vendor. That red and white logo is as British as the Union Jack itself. Walls has been making ice cream since 1913. That's 111 years to perfect their craft. So why does modern Walls ice cream taste like sweetened air with a vague memory of vanilla? Here's what happened. Unilever owns Walls, and over the decades they've done what massive corporations do best. They've engineered the product down to the absolute minimum cost per litre while maximizing the markup. The result is something that technically qualifies as ice cream, but bears almost no resemblance to what that term should mean. Pick up a tub of standard Walls vanilla. The ingredients list reads like a chemistry practical. You've got reconstituted skimmed milk, water, glucose syrup, sugar coconut fat, glucose fructose syrup, and then we get into emulsifiers like E471, stabilizers like E410, E412, E407, and flavoring. Notice what's missing: cream. Actual cream. None of this is illegal, but that doesn't make it okay. Real ice cream is cream, milk, sugar, and flavoring. That's it. 4 ingredients, maybe 5 if you want to get fancy, but Walls has discovered that you can replace expensive dairy fat with cheap vegetable oils, pump in air to increase the volume, and add stabilizers to make it all hold together. The result takes up the same space in the tub, but costs them a fraction to produce. One user on a food forum put it perfectly: I remember Walls from childhood, and it tasted creamy, rich. Now it's just cold sugar foam. The Guardian's 2025 taste test gave Walls Vanilla 0 out of 5 stars. 0. They called it ultra-processed, not technically ice cream, bright yellow, and artificially sweet. The air content, or overrun as it's called in the industry, is the real scandal. Premium ice cream has about 25 to 30% air whipped into it. Walls' standard range can have up to 100% overrun. That means half of what you're buying is literally air. You're paying £3 for half a tub of actual product. And here's the thing that should genuinely annoy you. Walls still positions itself as a premium brand. They charge more than supermarket-owned brands while delivering a product that's often lower quality. They're trading entirely on legacy, on the memory of what they used to be, while giving you vegetable oil foam with stabilizers. If you look at the packaging, you'll notice it doesn't actually say ice cream prominently. It says soft scoop. That's because they know what they're selling isn't what people think of when they hear ice cream. But the red heart logo, the nostalgia, the childhood memories, that's enough to keep people buying, until they read the label. Number 3. Frederick's Ice Cream. This one stings because Frederick's positions itself as luxury. They have lots of ice cream parlors and claim to manufacture the best quality luxury ice cream on the market. That's a direct quote from their marketing. So let's look at what's actually in their vanilla ice cream. Reconstituted milk powder, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, specifically palm oil, stabilizer that's E471, gar gum E412, xanthan gum E415, locust bean gum E410, color E160C, natural flavor. Not a hint of cream to be seen, just loads of gum to give it a creamy mouthfeel. This is the clearest example of premium claims hiding poverty ingredients. Hydrogenated vegetable oil is particularly grim. That's the stuff that's been chemically altered to be solid at room temperature. It's cheap, it's stable, and it's nothing like cream. The gums, all 4 of them, are there to mimic the texture that cream would naturally provide. They make it feel smooth, make it feel like you're eating something indulgent. But you're not. You're eating reconstituted powder and hydrogenated fat held together with industrial thickeners, and they have the nerve to call this luxury. One customer wrote, "Frederick's claims best quality luxury ice cream on the market. Not a hint of cream to be seen, just loads of gum to give it a creamy mouthfeel." They're furious, and they should be. When you walk into a Frederick's parlor, you're expecting quality. The branding, the presentation, the price, it all suggests you're getting something special. What you're actually getting is the same cheap formulation you'd find in a budget supermarket tub, but served with a smile and charged at a premium. That's not luxury, that's deception. If Frederick's wants to sell frozen dessert made from reconstituted powder and palm oil, fine, but don't call it luxury. Don't claim it's the best quality on the market, because the ingredient list tells a very different story. Number 2. Cadbury Dairy Milk Ice Creams and Ice Cream Bars. We've already talked about what Mondelez did to Cadbury chocolate on this channel, but their ice cream deserves its own special mention because it represents a double betrayal. First, they ruined the chocolate. Then they used that degraded chocolate to make ice cream and slapped a premium price on it. Cadbury ice cream isn't made by chocolatiers who happen to make ice cream. It's made by whoever Mondelez has licensed the name to, and it shows. The chocolate flavor comes from cocoa powder and flavorings rather than actual Cadbury chocolate. The texture is icy rather than creamy. And the ingredient list includes the usual suspects: partially reconstituted skimmed milk concentrate, vegetable fats, glucose syrup, stabilizers, emulsifiers. One reviewer summed it up brutally. "It tastes like someone vaguely remembered Cadbury chocolate and filled in the rest with sugar. So disappointed." But here's what makes this particularly cynical. People buy Cadbury ice cream because they love Cadbury chocolate. They're expecting that specific flavor, that nostalgia, that creamy melt. What they're getting is a licensed product that uses the absolute minimum of actual Cadbury ingredients to legally put the name on the tub. The flake ice cream bars are perhaps the saddest example. A real flake is delicate, crumbly, with a specific texture that comes from the way the chocolate is made. The flake in the ice cream bar is just chocolate-flavored coating that happens to be ridged. It doesn't taste like a flake, it doesn't have that texture, it's just there, a visual reminder of what you thought you were buying. Remember when Kraft bought Cadbury in 2010 and changed the recipe? They replaced Cadbury's dairy milk chocolate with a cheaper American formula. The British public was outraged, the taste changed, it wasn't the same. Well, they've done it again, except this time, it's not just the chocolate. It's ice cream pretending to be made with that chocolate. You're paying extra for the Cadbury name on something that has almost nothing to do with actual Cadbury quality. It's nostalgia exploitation at its finest. And the worst part is, it works. People keep buying it because the purple packaging and the dairy milk logo trigger memories of when Cadbury actually meant something. But those days are gone. What you're getting now is licensed mediocrity with a familiar name slapped on top. Number 1. Tesco Ms. Molly's Soft Scoop Vanilla. This is it. The ultimate symbol of what happened to UK ice cream. Look at this tub. Cheerful pastel packaging, cute cartoon character, friendly family branding. It's positioned as a treat for kids, something fun and innocent. Now flip it over and read the ingredients. Reconstituted dried skimmed milk, whey protein, vegetable fats, artificial vanilla flavoring. The Which investigation found this product was missing all 3 key ingredients you'd expect in vanilla ice cream. No fresh milk, no cream, no real vanilla, just reconstituted powder, whey protein, cheap fats, and synthetic flavoring. This is what happens when accountants design ice cream. Someone in a boardroom asked, "How do we make ice cream at 30% less cost?" And a food technologist replied, "Take out the cream." Mission accomplished. Customers have noticed. One review said, "Sweet, fluffy, gone in seconds, like frozen mousse." Another said, "Read ingredients, bought thinking ice cream is ice cream but not." Kids hated it. That last line is devastating. Kids hated it. Children, who will eat almost anything sweet, rejected this because even they could tell something was wrong. The texture is all wrong, it's airy, weightless, insubstantial. You put it in your mouth, and it just dissolves into sugary liquid. There's no richness, no creaminess, no lingering flavor. It's just cold, sweet, and gone. That's because it's not ice cream. It's whipped air with vanilla flavoring and vegetable fats. Tesco knows exactly what they're doing. They've created a product that looks like ice cream, is sold in the ice cream aisle, and is marketed to families as ice cream. But legally, nutritionally, and honestly, it's not. It's a frozen dessert engineered to imitate the real thing while costing as little as possible to produce. And here's the thing, Miss Molly's is aimed at families, at parents who want to give their kids a treat, at people who trust Tesco to provide decent food at a fair price. But there's nothing decent about this. There's nothing fair about selling reconstituted powder and vegetable fat as ice cream. This is the perfect encapsulation of everything that's gone wrong. Cheerful branding hiding complete ingredient fraud, a product aimed at children that contains nothing a parent would want to feed them if they actually read the label. And a supermarket giant betting that most people won't notice, won't care, or won't have the time or money to choose better. Ms. Molly's is the face of UK ice cream in 2025, and that should make us all very, very angry. So how do you find the good stuff? It's actually simpler than you'd think. Real ice cream has a short ingredient list. If you see cream or whole milk in the first 3 ingredients, that's a good sign. If you see vanilla extract or vanilla pods instead of flavoring, even better. If the list is longer than 8 or 9 ingredients and includes multiple oils, gums, and stabilizers, put it back. Look for words like dairy, organic, traditional, or small batch. These aren't guarantees, but they're better indicators than bright packaging and low prices. And here's a quick rule. If it says soft scoop, be cautious. If water is the first ingredient, that's a red flag. If there's no cream, think twice. Premium branding doesn't mean premium ingredients, so don't be fooled by fancy names and gold packaging. The good news is there are still brands making proper ice cream. They cost more, but you're getting more. The overrun is lower, meaning more actual product in the tub. The ingredients are real, and you're supporting businesses that haven't sold out for profit margins. Let me tell you about them. First, Mackey's of Scotland traditional dairy ice cream. Up in Aberdeenshire, the Mackey family have been farming for 4 generations. In 1986, they started making ice cream from their own dairy herd. Mackey's is still family-owned, still made on the farm, and still using proper ingredients. Check the label. 60% whole milk, 20% cream, sugar milk solids, pasteurized free-range eggs, and stabilizers, sodium alginate, and gar gum. Look, it's not perfect. It contains emulsifiers and stabilizers, but compared to what we just went through, it's in a different universe. The result is ice cream that tastes like ice cream used to taste: creamy, dense, rich. It melts properly. It doesn't leave a greasy coating. It's what ice cream is supposed to be. And they're not resting on their laurels. Mackey's has invested in renewable energy, pays fair wages, and is transparent about their ingredients and processes. When they make honeycomb flavor, they use real honeycomb. When they make chocolate, they use actual chocolate, not compound. Yes, it costs more than Walls, but you're getting more. The overrun is lower, meaning more actual product in the tub. The ingredients are real. And you're supporting a British family business rather than a multinational corporation. One customer wrote, "Tried Mackey's after reading about them. Can't go back to Walls now. This is what I remember ice cream tasting like 30 years ago. That's the difference real ingredients make." Over 20 comments from real people praised Mackey's. They called it the People's Champion. And they're right, this is what ice cream should be. Second, Sainsbury's Taste the Difference Madagascar Vanilla. Not everyone wants to spend a small fortune on dessert. Sometimes you just want a proper scoop that feels creamy, smells like vanilla, and doesn't taste like disappointment. That's where Sainsbury's Taste the Difference comes in. It's the sensible person's premium choice. The first thing you notice is the texture. It's thick, not airy. You can tell it's made with double cream the second your spoon cuts through it. The vanilla comes from real Madagascan pods, which means it has that subtle floral note rather than sharp fake sweetness you get from cheaper brands. There's even that satisfying hint of tang from the cream that balances everything out. The ingredient list shows British whole cow's milk, West Country double cream, sugar, skimmed milk powder, egg yolk, Madagascan vanilla extract and powder. Real vanilla extract and powder. You can see the specs. In blind taste tests, reviewers praised it for being rounded, not sugary, and rich but still refreshing. That's rare. Most supermarket ice creams are either too sweet or too heavy. This one walks the perfect line. The Guardian's 2025 ranking called it one of the best bargains. And unlike premium brands, you don't need to live near a Waitrose or wear a linen apron to get it. You'll find it in most big Sainsbury's stores, quietly sitting there like the underrated friend who always brings good wine but never brags about it. A few scoops of this on warm apple crumble, and you'll wonder why you ever bothered with soft scoop imposters. It's proof that great ingredients don't have to be exclusive, just thoughtful. This is what supermarket-owned brands should be. And it shows that when Sainsbury's wants to make proper ice cream, they absolutely can. Third, Waitrose Dutchie Organic Madagascan Vanilla. If ice cream had a monarchy, Dutchie Organic would sit firmly on the throne, probably wearing a crown made of vanilla pods. It's the Waitrose exclusive that makes you feel fancy just opening the lid. No artificial yellow, no overblown sweetness, just smooth custard-like calm in every spoonful. The Guardian's taste testers ranked it first for a reason. This stuff doesn't rely on cheap tricks. It's made with organic whole milk, organic double cream, organic sugar, skimmed milk powder, pasteurized egg, and genuine vanilla extract and powder that leave tiny specks scattered through the scoop like little dots of honesty. One spoonful and you immediately understand what luxury used to mean before food marketing turned it into a buzzword. The texture is dense and silky. It holds its shape like proper ice cream should, not collapsing into a puddle of sadness the second it meets warm air. It's indulgent but not cloying. You taste cream, not sugar. And then comes that slow, buttery vanilla finish that lingers just long enough to make you close your eyes for a second. Every bite feels like it was churned with care, not profit margins. And there's an extra layer of goodness here. Dutchie's profits go to the Prince's Foundation, supporting sustainable farming and small producers across the UK. So somehow even your dessert has good manners. It's not cheap, but it's not supposed to be. Dutchie is the kind of ice cream you bring out when you want to remind guests that you have taste. It's the gold standard of supermarket ice cream. This is what premium actually looks like, not carte d'ore's fake French posturing. When you've tasted this, you understand why people get angry about the cheap stuff, because this is what ice cream can be when someone actually cares. Fourth, Yo Valley Organic Madagascan Vanilla. Yo Valley is the kind of brand that makes you feel like you're buying from actual farmers instead of factories. They started with yogurt and somehow turned that dairy know-how into one of the most honest tubs of ice cream in Britain. The first thing you notice is the color. It's pale, creamy white. No artificial glow, no hint of that neon yellow that screams added carotene. Then you taste it, and it's like a walk through an English meadow in July. You can tell the milk came from cows that actually eat grass instead of pellets. There's 24.5% cream in this recipe, which is way above average. That's why it feels velvety without being greasy. The sweetness is gentle, not overpowering. Reviewers described it as clean, balanced, and surprisingly sophisticated. And because it uses less air than mass-market brands, each spoonful feels dense, almost weighty. The vanilla itself is rich and aromatic, full of those tiny black specks that remind you this isn't a lab creation. It melts slowly, leaving behind a faint echo of cream rather than a coating of oil. You don't feel heavy afterward, you just feel content. Yo Valley also wears its ethics proudly. The milk comes from organic farms that avoid routine antibiotics and give cows proper grazing time. They've built a business around sustainability before it became trendy. So eating this ice cream feels a bit like doing something good for the planet while treating yourself. It's that rare balance of indulgence and integrity. Ice cream that's not just delicious, but quietly decent. This is proof that organic doesn't have to mean joyless or preachy. It can still make you grin like a kid with a comb. Fifth, Lidl Gelatelli Bourbon Vanilla and Aldi Specially Selected Madagascan Vanilla. Here's the thing about discount supermarkets. They've quietly been embarrassing the big brands for years. Lidl's Gelatelli and Aldi's Specially Selected lines are perfect examples. These cost about £2.50 to £3 for a tub, but the quality rivals brands charging £5 or £6. The Telegraph taste test earlier this year ranked Aldi's Specially Selected Madagascan Vanilla as the top supermarket ice cream. Not joint top, not runner-up, top. At £2.49, Lidl's Gelatelli Bourbon Vanilla is similarly impressive. Real bourbon vanilla beans, you can see the specs, actual cream, short ingredient list. No water as the first ingredient, no 4 different palm oils, just milk, cream, sugar, vanilla. The way it should be, the texture is dense and creamy. The vanilla flavor is pronounced but not artificial. It melts properly, tastes like dairy, and doesn't leave that weird waxy coating in your mouth. Multiple customers described it as tasting expensive, like homemade ice cream. That's what real ingredients do. They don't need to be fancy or premium branded. They just need to be real. This is the proof that you don't need to spend a fortune to get decent ice cream. You just need to shop at places that haven't decided profit margins are more important than product quality. Lidl and Aldi have built their reputations on delivering quality at low prices, and their ice cream lines are no exception. If you're on a budget but still want actual ice cream, this is where you go. These two have managed to do what Walls, Tesco, Asda, and Co-op apparently can't: make real ice cream at a price people can afford. And that should embarrass every major brand on the avoid list. Here's the reality. Most ice cream in British supermarkets is a scam. It's vegetable oil and air held together with chemicals, marketed with nostalgia and clever packaging, and sold at prices that suggest quality that simply isn't there. The brands we grew up with have been systematically degraded by corporations that realized we'd keep buying based on memory rather than reality. They've cut costs, replaced real ingredients with cheap alternatives, and pumped their products full of air and additives. But we don't have to accept it. The good brands prove that real ice cream still exists. It costs more because it costs more to make, but the difference in quality is staggering. So next time you're in the frozen aisle, flip that tub over. Read the ingredients. Ask yourself if vegetable oils and stabilizers are what you want to be eating. Ask yourself if you're buying ice cream or buying a memory of ice cream that no longer exists. If this video opened your eyes, hit that hype button one more time. Share this with someone who still buys Walls thinking it's the same as it used to be. Leave a comment telling me which food we should investigate next, because there's a lot more to uncover. British summer deserves better than vegetable oil foam with flavoring. Your kids deserve to know what real ice cream tastes like, and these multinational corporations need to understand that we're not going to keep accepting degraded products just because the packaging looks familiar. Ice cream should mean ice cream, Not iced oil, no cream, not buying. Until next time, read your labels, demand better, and protect your plate.